Finances. I'm actually going to jump down to the bottom first. You're going to need more patience. You're going to need a bookkeeper. You're going to need an accountant, QuickBooks, and financial podcast. I'm going to start the financial podcast one first. I didn't grow up in a very financially literate home. Like my mom managed the home well, right? But that's not something that we talked about a lot. Obviously, we're in a different time right now where financial literacy, especially amongst Black people, is something that's at the forefront. But having a clear understanding of like your personal finances and how that's going to be leveraged for your business until you can establish business credit on your on the business's own merit, that's going to be super important. There's going to be things that you just don't know about unless you hear them and expose yourself to them, right? So being able to tap into different financial podcasts while you're on the go, like that's going to be super helpful. Your accountant, this is going to be mainly for dealing with your taxes, right? So for us, like our accountant doesn't handle all of our day-to-day transactions. That's what our bookkeeper does, right? Your bookkeeper is going to be the person who you're going to go to on a random Thursday when you need to understand, what is going on, with your sales this month, right? Or if you want to be able to have a clear picture on how is money being spent, right? There have been so many times where Shep has come back to me and is like, hey, bruh, you're getting out of control right now with the spending. Not because, we're just out here popping bottles and having a good time, right? But because there's costs associated with everything. And if you're not paying attention to it, like it's not that it doesn't exist. It ain't that it ain't growing and becoming a problem or less of a problem. It's just that you don't know. And so having a solid bookkeeper that you're consistently talking to, that's going to be super. And that's if you're in fashion or in any other kind of business for that matter. So if you guys decide that, hey, after this, I really don't want to do fashion, a lot of this stuff you'll still be able to transfer into your other business projects. But as it pertains specifically to starting a clothing line, one of the things that was helpful for me is figuring out like, all right, how much is it going to cost to produce the first, second, and third idea, right? That's not what I did or what we did. We did the complete opposite. And so now I'm telling you guys what I wish I would have known, right? Being able to have a budget sheet that says this is where the money that I'm investing is going. And this is also how I'm going to recoup it so we can do it again. That's going to be important. And having that money allocated for, I'm saying just three releases, because that first release may not go as well as you thought it did, right? You thought it was hot. Your friends even told you it was dope. And then you put it in the market and the market told you otherwise. You put it online and it got 2 likes. You know what I'm saying? And so usually that's the place where people tap out at. So again, going back to more patience, right? You got to be able to put that second idea out, right? And probably what ended up happening, if you're paying attention to why that product failed the last time, you're gonna have some learnings and you'll probably be, a bit more successful than the last release. But then come that third drop, right? That third drop, in theory, right, should be a culmination of all the learnings of those first 2 releases, right? And so also so scratch like the first, second, third thing out of your mind for a second. Just look at the principles of that. It's not going to be great when you first started, right? Like very rarely do people come out and they immediately have a hit, right? We're in the business of building brands, right? We're in the business of not having something that is just going to be flash in the pan and going to be here for a moment, but like we're trying to build something sustainable, right? So with that, you just want to think through that stuff. And then also, is it the money that I'm about to spend on this product, is it worth it, right? And that's going to kind of come into like your goal setting and like what the end goal is, because for some of you guys, the initial goal is just to get the idea out. And that's going to be a victory in and of itself. Whether if it sells or not, you may not be as concerned with that at the moment. That's cool, right? But in our case, we're not playing that kind of game, right? We're at a stage in our company where when we put our product, we need it to sell. because we're not just putting out 15 pieces, right? So all of there, depending on where you're at in your journey, like that risk part is good. You're gonna have to kind of determine that on your own.